these trust issues. Maybe it's because you got a few us issues, lust issues, love issues. Truth is that you got trust issues. Must be a magician. How you gonna flip it? Turn it upside down.
Hey everybody, so Guru here, and I've got a special guest. I'm sure that some of you know her. She is definitely a face that's a little bit more well-known than me. WRAYA, it's a pleasure to have you. I actually was very surprised when we initially chatted, but I'm super excited to have you on here, and I know that you are also excited because you're going to have some questions answered. So I don't think you need an introduction by any means, but go ahead and quickly introduce yourself, and then we'll get started.
Awesome. Well, thanks for having me, Max. My name's WRAYA. I am a music artist, and I have a YouTube channel where I release songs and Spotify, so check me out. But today we're here to talk Axie, and I'm here to interview Max because he has all the answers to... I literally have a full list of questions. This is now a channel takeover. I'm taking over this channel. I am your new host. And I'm going to be grilling Max today of all the juicy goss that I want to find out about Axie scholarships, because it's something I've been thinking about. I've gotten into Axie about a month ago, and I'm still a very new player, but this whole running a guild and this scholarship thing has piqued my interest. I haven't decided to do it yet, so don't get too excited, guys, but I just want to hear the goss and the tea and like what's behind running a scholarship. So I hit up Max on Twitter and be like, hey, you had a really good, informative how to set up a scholarship video, but I want to know more. So today we're here to find out.
Can I just say, by the way, that when I woke up, because you sent me that message at 6 a.m. my time, I had woken up at about 7:30 my usual time, and I saw on my, it was Instagram, I saw on my Instagram that I Am WRAYA had followed me. And I know of you because I've seen you do your videos and I've seen you be a personality on Twitter. But the first thought that came to mind was, oh no, is this somebody trying to scam me? Because I've heard of people like creating fake accounts. So I immediately clicked on it and I was like, oh no, that's a blue check mark. That's real WRAYA right there. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is awesome. Okay, let's just go on with my morning routine. Then afterwards, and this is where it's funny, I think you'll find this funny, WRAYA, is I thought to myself, hey, she followed me for a reason. I should send her a message, just say hi. So I go to your profile, click on the send message thing, and I realize there's a message in the chat. And I'm like, what? Is this wait a second. Wait, she sent me a message already. What is going on? And I was just so shocked that I sent my community a message. I was like, I think WRAYA sent me a message. And they're like, no, it's a scam. I was like, no, I swear it's her.
Give me your wallet address.
Yeah. So, yeah, no, but anyway, go ahead. You are the host today. We're giving you the authority.
Yeah, I was like, so yeah, the background is I definitely was very informed by your original how to set up a scholarship video. You walk through it step by step, and I think that really helped the community a lot. So I just want to say thank you. You know, it's very, very useful because all these things are very hard to find, and you just made it super clear. But you know what I really want to know, and I did my homework. I have a whole list of questions I prepared right here. So I'm gonna read the first one. What made you decide to start a scholarship?
Okay, so tangent warning. Just want to put that one out here because this is an open-ended question. Well, let me start with how it started actually, and that was not as a scholarship. So my very first scholarship was more of a sponsorship. I had just started the game. It was still kind of fresh. Like, this is pre-Ronin, actually. So I had reached out to a couple of the people I know, actually really long-time gaming friends. And I did what everybody has done at some point in their Axie career. And I had the Axie pitch talk, where, like, you know, you talk to somebody, tell them the amazing things that are happening in this game, and they look at you with a face straight out of a Tim Burton movie because, like, they can't believe any of it. And needless to say, it ended up working out. So I was like, hey, come and try it out. It's super cool. There's no risk for you. You can use my Axies and just give it a try. And if you like it, we can go from there. So initially when they came in, I didn't have like a split setup with them because they're my close friends. One of my friends, he got in, he fell in love with it, and he just went all in, like super, super quick. He was like, oh yeah, I don't need this team anymore. I'm buying all my own stuff. So I made teams for them. They only needed for like a week. And then I had these teams and I was like, okay, well, I know about the scholarship program. Maybe maybe I should just start it up. You know, I didn't think much of it. So I started looking into it. And unfortunately, there wasn't a lot of info. So I just took to my normal in researching things. And I found out that, like, okay, these scholarship programs are huge. Like, they're making big impacts around the world. And I got really motivated because I'm kind of like, I'm like a chronic empath. I feel so much to the point where it's almost unhealthy sometimes for people. And I had made a commitment at that time. I was like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it right. My YouTube channel at the time was only like maybe 1,000 subscribers, not even when I'd made the decision. So I thought, okay, well, let's make a YouTube video. And like, I can just call some people and tell them, hey, I'm opening up the scholarship program. And the business person in me was like, hey, let's prepare everything. I had like a jot form built up for it. Like, I was all ready to go. And in the jot form, I had like a little cover letter note for it too, so they could tell me about themselves. That was the best thing I could have done. So that was kind of why I started it, was like I had started it as a sponsorship, saw that, you know, it had an impact, and then had extra teams. So I just doubled down, made a few extra teams, and really wanted to drive that out there. So that was the reason why. But let me tell you, within my first wave, I had taken on some people and had like a communication with them, and it was incredible. It was so heartwarming. Like, one of the people I'd reached out to, his response, and I quote, was, "Oh my God, is this real? Is this Max I'm talking to?" And I'm like, "Oh, what? That's so awesome." So he was just so touched by it. And like, one of them was a fan of mine too, who wanted to do his own content. I was like, "Yeah, I'll make you a team and you can start your own content." And he like modeled his series after my Zero to Hero. Like, it was great. So that's why. It wasn't planned, but all of a sudden I had extra Axies and I'm like, sure, let's do it. And then that was the rabbit hole. I just went deep from there.
Nice. So it sounds like you kind of started off dipping your toes in it, and then it just kind of got bigger and bigger.
Exactly. And by the way, for everybody who's anticipating or thinking about it, yourself as well, Raya, the moment you open those floodgates or use the, you know, forbidden S word, we call it, it all begins. I've got like an over 99 plus DM list now, and it's just like, oh my goodness, it's kind of hard to handle. So fair warning to everyone.
Oh, okay. Well, this is my next question, but I have a sub question to it. So what is the most important thing to know when you start a scholarship? And my sub question to that is, do you have to be a good player to start a scholarship?
Ooh, good question. Actually, that second one I get asked quite a bit, and I have a good answer for it. So let's start with the most important thing to know. I think the most important thing to know when starting a scholarship is how your scholarship teams are going to maintain being assets for you. And I say this really, really heavily because of the most recent announcement about PvP being the focus and adventure mode SLP getting limited. And a lot of people were really concerned and scared about that. I was not. From the very beginning of my scholarship program, I knew that after these scholars were done with the Axies, they're still my Axies. So I don't want to get cheap Axies. I don't want to get bad Axies. I don't want to just buy something cheap to start up a team. I want to get something that I think is going to have long-term value. So I think the most important thing to know for sure, and now is an even more important time to think about it, is how valuable your Axies are in the long run. Because you're going to essentially be staking them in that scholarship program. So you can't pull them out for a while, right? Like, at least I hope not. I hope you wouldn't just pull the rug out from underneath a scholar. It's their income, it's their earnings. But yeah, no, I would say that's the most important thing. For sure. And now the second part, because this is a question I get asked all the time, Rhea, is do you have to be a good player? And I think there's a simple and a complex answer. Simple answer is no, you really don't. You just have to have money. But the complex answer is if you want to make the most of it, you should at least be a educated player to a certain degree. So there's a few things that are really important to know when you are being a scholarship manager. You should know, first off, the socioeconomic structure of the game, because you've got to understand, okay, what is the system? Because there is a bit of a class system in the game. Obviously, you have managers, scholars, you've got whales, you've got breeders. Like, there's a lot of different titles in this game. And you need to know where people are at, how to help them improve. You need to give people that value. And you also have to understand where you're at, right? Like, how are you going to see value? What do you need to prioritize? Meta is important too. Like, hey, are you breeding Axies that are going to just be like completely out of meta and worthless in a month? Are you going to be like, are you on track with it? Are you shifting, etc.? So I do think even if you're going to be a manager and not play, you at least need to be a manager and be educated. And being a player is the easiest way to stay educated.
Yeah. So the answer is yes.
Yeah, I agree. I like that that's how you took it as well.
Yeah. Good to know. Well, along that lines, what are the mistakes that you made when you were starting your scholarship? Like, give me all the tea, every single mistake that you've made.
Oh yeah, so couple of them that were definitely mistakes here. So very first mistake I made, by the way, and this is funny, was if you're gonna make a video about starting a scholarship, don't accidentally have a clip in there where you flash the QR code for your main account. I had like the whole world messaging me being like, Guru, what are you doing? People are gonna log onto your account. I was like, oh my god, unlisted video right away. Jump
Oh
into it. I was so scared.
no.
So that is a mistake I made, by the way. Second thing I think is organization. Don't underestimate the amount of organization you need. I mean, like, pull out the Excel sheets, get prepared. I have actually kind of like a little bit of a pamphlet, like I guess you could say it's a booklet that I send to people that has like a breeding calculator, a team list, a profit and loss determiner, like tracker. And I send that to people usually when they're getting started just because it helps them. And that is a big thing. Don't make that mistake because there was times, like especially in the beginning, I had everything organized. And then the second wave, I didn't organize things the same way, and I'm like losing Axies. I actually had a moment just a little while ago where I was going through one of my scholarship accounts because I wanted to rebreed birds. And I had this moment where I realized I had left a zero breed bird that was like 97% on one of my scholarship accounts. I'm like, what am I doing? And I went and bought a new one too. I was like, wait, I just hit myself over it. So, organization, guys. Keep track of which scholar is on which account, have the Ronin address calculated, like written down, have the Axies that are on that account, like just keep it all organized because when it comes down to it, you're gonna need that or you're gonna get lost as you scale, right? Like 5 scholars, okay. 50 scholars, you better be organized. So that would be another one. And then the final one that I think is super, super important is take the time to know your scholars. Create a relationship. I've noticed, especially as I've gotten busier, I've had to almost kind of outsource that a little bit. Thankfully, I have a really big community that can help to train and look after my scholars. So when I get a scholar on board, I'm like, hey, come into the Method to the Mythos Discord. It's like one of the craziest information discords in Axie Infinity, and will help bring you up. But for a regular person, you might not have that. So put the resources in place, be able to train them, give them a way to contact you individually and as a group, and just stick on it, right? If you stick on it and you keep on actually helping them and being in contact with them, your scholars are not just going to be scholars. They're going to be friends. There's a lot of really cool people that you can bring on, and like some of the coolest people in my community were at one point in time my scholars.
Yeah, well, I've noticed being on Twitter and interacting with Bryce. I was on his Twitch stream before and getting to know all his scholars from Loot Squad. I was like, these are really friendly people, and I'm sure, I'm gonna get to know your scholars as well once I'm in the Discord group, checking them out. They're gonna be really warm and friendly. I've noticed this community especially it's been such a great experience. This is why I want to know more because it just feels very different to a normal gaming community, in my opinion.
Completely right. It's because it's life changing.
It is, it is. I love that. Okay, so what is the one thing that people don't think about when they start a scholarship, but is the most important? I know you mentioned organization
Hmm.
and things like that. Is there something else that, like, I mean, organization, I feel like is something that comes to mind quite easily, but what is something that doesn't come to mind that you just found out, like, oh,
So
right,
I'm
this is
gonna
so important.
sorry. I'm gonna double back on a point that I mentioned before, and I'm just gonna really, really drive it home because it's so important. Think about the axes that you're choosing. It's so important. It really is, guys. Like, you just, in the long run, you need to have good axes. So don't go and just buy stuff on the floor. Take your time, get good axes. Your scholars will thank you. You will thank yourself in the future, and don't forget about your future self. And as well, the game will thank you because you're promoting quality in a game like this, which gives everybody an opportunity to compete. So that would be my answer to that for sure. Doubling that, I know I'm driving that point home.
Okay, think about your axes.
Yes.
I love it. All right. So, along that lines, what makes someone a good manager?
Hmm. Okay, I'm gonna give an example for this because there's somebody in my community who, like, he brings tears to my eyes at times. He's such a good manager, and he's Singaporean, by the way. And his name
Nice.
is Abuksar. He is, I mean, anybody who's in my community knows him. He's an absolute angel. He is by far one of the best managers that I know, and I think it's because his relationship is completely non-hierarchical. There's no hierarchical structure to it. Everybody stands on the same playing field. They all see eye to eye. He helps people out. He genuinely wants to help people out, and in return, that's reciprocated. Like, that guy doesn't even have to source scholars. The referrals are flooding into his program. And there is no better way to find a trustworthy scholar than to have it referred from one of your trustworthy scholars, right? So that would be definitely a thing is, don't be hierarchical. Have a, see eye to eye with your scholars. They're people too, by the way. And then just make sure that you have genuine intent. And if you do, and you put that intent out, it's going to come back, guaranteed. I speak from experience.
Was he a scholar originally that you promoted, or do people come in as managers straight away?
Yes, so in the beginning, actually, funny enough, I think it's why my channel didn't blow up as quick, because a lot of other creators, they went the scholar route, right? Like, they did watch to earn, or they really doubled down on getting the scholars behind them, because, I mean, let's be real, right? There's a lot of people in this game and in this community from the scholarship side. So if you can appeal to that, then you're going to have a boost to your following, a boost to your metrics. I was on the other side. I'm a business professional. Like, I own a couple of businesses and run them myself. By the way, wouldn't recommend that. Don't try to balance too many businesses. I don't sleep anymore. But yeah, I think that I focused managers and investors in the beginning. So a lot of my content was informative or competitive, and most of the people who came into my community were like-minded, right? Which is cool, because I found I kind of picked all the good investors and intelligent minds out. I was like, yeah, come here. You come here too. We're gonna pile all this together. And then MTTM happened, and every now and then I get a really well-known person who comes into the Discord or the community, and they're just baffled. Like, there's a personality on Twitter, Spike. He's a great guy, by the way. I love him. He always wears the shades on Twitch. I don't know if you know him, Raya. But he came into the community and he's like, yo, what is this? Like, how did you find these people? What are they doing here? And I was like, I don't know, like-minded people, right? So yeah, no, a lot of managers, and Ash or Abu, he was one of those managers who came in. He's an OG, so he's been around for a very long time, and he was the very first moderator we ever made in the community. It got to a point where we got to our first 100 members, which is a huge milestone at the time. Now it's way in the past. And I thought, okay, there's a lot of people on the eastern side of the world. I need a moderator on that side of the world. And he was from Singapore, so I was like, hey, it works. I like him, super smart guy. Brought him on, and he was just a machine. He immediately, he started doing more work than I did. And I was like, oh, wow, I guess I made the right choice here. So yeah, no, he's a manager through and through. And now he's easily one of the best managers in the whole industry, the whole community.
Awesome. So you think it's to do with his enthusiasm, his love for the community?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's most important.
100% for him, and just him. I think some people have something innate that kind of comes out, right? And I think for him, he genuinely wants to see this world be better. That's his outlook on it, and you can see it in his actions for sure.
Awesome. I love that. Well, that kind of leads me to the next question. What kind of skills should a good manager have?
Ooh, number one, people skills. 100%. That is first and foremost. Do your 16 personalities test. Get that people mastery.
What are you, by the way?
You know what? I got a question for you. If you're big into it, do you have any guesses?
Okay. Well, I have to say you do seem very business minded. But you did say you're an empath. I can't tell if you're introverted or extroverted. I'm gonna guess introverted.
Good one, yeah.
So I'm gonna say ISFJ.
Ooh, close actually. So you were really close. So actually, I used to be INFJ. And recently, since I got into what I've been doing content-wise, and I did a lot of public relations for my business, I've actually transitioned over to ENFJ. So I'm ENFJ A-type personality.
Oh, interesting. I was going to guess an INFJ, but because you seem so business-minded, you threw me off. I'm like, maybe you needed an S in there to really get in.
Get it out, yeah. Most people think that. They're like, oh, it's got to be S, but I'm super fluid business, by the way. I'm not solid business. So that's one of the things maybe.
Oh, Oh, nice, nice. All right. Can you guess what I am?
Oh my
I'm gonna
goodness.
throw
Well,
it back at you.
see, that's the thing. It's always what you don't expect for the first one. But I gotta say, E. Like, I did a little bit of looking into you before and like your personality. By the way, you're just made for content. Like, you're so comfortable in front of a camera. I wonder why. It's almost like, you know, you do filming and recording all the time.
Yeah.
But
It's a bit.
I'm gonna think E. I think you are. I think you are EN as well. I actually really think it. But I think F. ENFA.
A?
Oh, A-type. Sorry, A-type personality. I definitely think you're an A-type personality. First off.
Yeah, I am. I am for sure.
I can just tell right away. You like to lead it. You took over my channel in this interview. No, I can only think EN and F. That's what I'm on. ENF. I don't know the last one. What is it?
P or J? Take a guess.
Let's go J.
Okay. I'm actually an INFP.
INFP, okay. I wanted to say J because if it was, I was like, oh wow, are we the same?
No, well, you said to be a manager or a scholarship leader, you have to be organized. I'm like, oh, my P is letting me down for sure.
No.
But I like talking to people and I like taking over channels. But yeah, I'm an I because I think I'm very comfortable in front of the camera, but not in real life. I'm really shy in real life.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, see, I told you. It's always what you don't think, right?
Yeah. Exactly. Okay, so back to what are the skills that make a good manager? So people skills.
100%, first and foremost. Second, I think it's going to be it's going to be, I want to call it vision, because vision is more than what your eyes can see. But it's like foresight. Like, you've got to be somebody who is strategic, and you've got to be able to put together strategies that can look into the future and position yourself correct. Hence my previous point. So I would say that beyond just people skills to identify people, you've also got to have like really good strategy skills. You've got to put a strategy in place that is going to work, because it's not easy. You know, a lot of people think, oh, scholarship, I'm gonna make some money and help people in the process. And yes, at its very fundamental point, that's what it is. But it's actually a business. It's a full-on business. So you've got to have a plan in place. So people who can strategize well and put together a system. Sorry, I know you're probably like sweating a little bit hearing that. But yes, lots of organization, planning. But I just can't help but stress the people skills side of it. If you got nothing else but people skills, I think you'll be a good manager. But if you have those strategy skills as well, then that'll also help. And then in Abu's case, if you got design skills and you can flesh out a brand for your team, oh, you're set. Like, absolutely set. If you can get people repping a brand while they're a scholar of yours, you're set. That's the triangle right there.
That's awesome. So that kind of sounds very like marketing focused almost.
Kind of, yeah. It's a good point, actually.
Awesome. All right. Okay. My next question. How much do you need to trust your manager, and do you give them access to your wallet, and do you hand over your Axies to them, to their wallet? This is more of a technical question.
Yes, and so how much do you trust your scholar? You've got to trust them a lot. You really do. But here's a question, and I swear, I get the comment is like, I need to pin a comment on my scholarship video, because every day I get a comment asking, even though I've answered it like 50 times on the video, but it's always in the replies, right? Is, hey, look, if I give a scholar access to my account on the marketplace, can't they send my Axies or sell them or whatever? No. So the way it works is your Axie is a non-fungible token that is linked to your Ronin wallet, which is secured by your seed phrase. Like, when you created your wallet, you had those 12 words you had to write down. I hope that none of you guys put that in a file on your computer, because that's risky. Make sure you write it down and hide it somewhere. As long as they don't have that, they can't do anything with your Axies or your assets. So if you're in the marketplace, you can click buy, sell all you want, but nothing will happen, because it's not linked to the Ronin wallet, and you have to sign every request through there. So you might be thinking, okay, well then there's no risk. Well, no, there's risk, 100%. So scholars, and not a lot of scholars, but some do, they don't assume risk of the Axies, right? So for them, and I can't even doubt them, because I come from a really like low-income background. Unfortunately, I had to deal with that growing up, and I know what it's like to feel desperate. and want to be like, oh, I need to move my family out of this. I need to make more money. So for them, because they don't have the risk, some of them will go against TOS and they will just multi-account or use bots because they'll do whatever it takes, right? And we got to understand that. But a lot of people as well, it's really short-sighted, right? Because when you act that way, then obviously you limit the opportunities for yourself. And I speak as an example of that. I don't know if you watched it, Raya, but I had an interview video with one of my old scholars he's in my community. His name is Mugen. Great guy. If you guys haven't seen that video, I'm going to plug it right now. You got to go watch it. And his entire family, by the way, they will never, ever live the way that they did before. Their whole life, they're creating generational wealth. And it's because they found a program and they found a group of people that they can commit to long term and they can build on that. So from a scholar's point of view, you would want somebody to think that way, but some don't. So you do need to trust them, because if you don't trust the person, they're going to take your account, they're going to go do whatever they can to make however much they can with it, and they're not going to care about your Axies or your assets being safe. But again, as far as the actual opportunity for them to go and steal things from you, zero, zilch. As long as you don't hand out your seed phrase, you're good. So don't worry about that, everyone.
So do you hand out your seed phrase to your managers? Because the managers have to give the Axies to the scholars, or
no,
do you do
create an account. So what you do is, you have a Ronin, right? You have a Ronin wallet, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to the Ronin wallet and you click the little like profile button up in the top right, there is an option in that second menu that comes out that says add account. So you can add accounts, and as many as you want, by the way, there's no limit. And then what you do is you click on that account, and that account is a separate address, but it's under the same seed phrase. So the seed phrase is like that's like the absolute like foundation of the wallet, and nobody should know it. But the addresses are public, and there's no risk to giving your address out. Like, you could throw that all over the world. Nobody can do anything with it. But that's what the scholar is going to have access to, and you always create the accounts. So you create the account with that specific address. You have to use an email. By the way, I'm sure you probably saw in my video, there's like that unlimited email trick. Use it. Yep. It'll save you a lot of trouble. It's so much fun.
I wrote that down, by the way. Thank you.
Good. Do it. Yes. Because when I first started, by the way, I didn't know that. That was a recommendation from one of my community members. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got to backtrack now and fix this all. But it'll save you a lot of trouble. However, you create the account, and then you give them access just to the account, and then have them create their own Ronin wallet, because you do still have to pay them. So the way that it'll work is you are going to actually pay them to their Ronin wallet, but they are going to play on your Ronin wallet. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Okay, so you basically, okay, that makes sense. All right, so you do need to trust your manager a lot, though, even though they don't have access to your assets.
Yes, of course.
Okay, awesome. What's the worst thing that has happened to you while running a scholarship?
Oh my goodness, worst thing that has happened to me, and it's simultaneously the greatest thing, but it's losing one of my scholars. And sometimes it's due to graduation. I had a couple of scholars who recently graduated, and their earnings were enough to buy their own team. And I nearly shed a tear. I was just so proud, yet so sad, because like, you have that relationship with them, right? And then to see them go, I have a feeling it's preparing me to be a parent one day, and I'm gonna have to like embrace that. But it was like, oh no, they're going their own way. Outside of that, though, I am lucky. I don't know what it's for. I think it's because of my due diligence. I've never had any accounts get banned. I've never had any issues where anybody's stolen anything from me. The only issue we once had as a community is somebody had applied, and they were really active in the community. They were even like promoting the MTTM community on Twitter. They seemed like a great individual. We wanted to bring them on. And when we had done our due diligence of, asking that person to coordinate with us on social media, things got a little iffy. Like, I don't know, things stopped lining up, and we're like, oh, okay, well, look, we need to get more information. We don't think you are who you say you are. And then all of a sudden, a few things came out where like he wasn't being authentic. He was saying, oh, hey, this is an account for someone else. I'm applying on their behalf. And we're like, ooh, no, like that's super shady. We're not going to go ahead with that. We have thousands of scholar applications. So like, we're not going to do it, right? So that would be the worst thing that's happened so far. And he kind of got upset, and he was like, oh, well, I'll just create a new Discord account and come in and like create havoc in your Discord. And we're like, no, we're all technology professionals. We're going to ban your MAC address and your IP. You'll never get back in the Discord again. Sorry, bud. Like, you don't know, like, we're professionals, right? A lot of us run businesses. We're tech guys. I wouldn't threaten us type of thing. Like, why did you do that? But yeah, that was probably the worst thing that happened, and that should really enforce the fact that you got to take the time to vet your scholars, know who they are, make sure you got the right people on board, because that could have been an issue where we had a multi-counter, could have banned the Axies.
True, and you won't be able to use them for 2 weeks, right?
Actually, it could be longer. I think now they're really strict. I think they're like up to 6 months.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay. So you gotta be real careful who you let into your scholarship program.
exactly.
So how many do you let in, um, like per week or per month, given that you have to do that much due diligence? And what kind of things do you look for?
Okay, that's really good. Yeah, it's a really good point. So, I myself, I have 30 scholars right now. And it rotates out sometimes because a few of them have graduated and I got to bring more on. I don't want to get too much more than that unless I get a second manager to help me out because it does get a little hard to coordinate everything. But I would say that the MTTM association, I guess I should talk a little bit about that, is I myself could not handle the amount of submission requests. So being the person I am, I was like, all right, I need more managers. So then from starting the manager or the scholarship, I then developed a managers association and started reaching out to the managers in my community and said, hey, let's get together and give these scholars a chance. So now I have like 20 people in that, and we're onboarding like tons of scholars, actually. I think we're onboarding like anywhere from 15 to 25 a week in that
Oh, wow.
program, which is a lot.
Yeah.
As an individual, though, I don't think you should look more than maybe like 2 to 5 a week. And even
Yeah.
that could be a lot for some people, depends on what you're working with. But I would say that for that in particular, it's determining on you, right? Like once you get to a certain point, understand that you as an individual can only handle so much, and you're going to need some help. And what to look for, that's a really important one. So some people, especially right now, they're saying, oh, I'm looking for gaming experience. And fair enough. You know what? Like that's just like somebody saying, hey, I worked at Google on my resume. You're like, oh, this person clearly knows what they're doing. But that's not the do all end all. I think one of the big things you should look for is compatibility. You have a culture or a dynamic in your scholarship you should be aware of if you're paying attention to your scholars. Make sure that they fit. It's just like bringing somebody into a business. When you look first and foremost, you're going to see, okay, does this person have the capacity to do the job? Well, Axie's not super complex. I think most people can play the game. But then the second part, which is the more important, is okay, are they the right fit? Are they the right person? Do they embody the culture? And if they do, then you're set. But I would say that those are two of the biggest things that people look for. Do they have the capacity, and do they fit in with the culture of the scholarship? And if they do, then you're good.
Awesome. I love that. So that leads me to my next question, which is how many um how many scholars do you think one manager can handle?
Ooh, okay. I'm going to say that 30 mark is when things start to get iffy. Because once you get up to 30 scholars, first off, try to onboard them in like sessions where like you have standardized onboarding so you don't have people claiming SLP at random times throughout the week. Try and make it a system so that rather than spending an hour every day working with scholars and cashing them out, you like take one day, allocate that day to like a big scholarship management day, and then you work with it like that. So, just a little bit of a tip for all those aspiring managers out there. But yeah, I think that it really works around that 30 mark. Some people lower, depending on, how much time you have, your organization skills, of course. But I think that an individual could probably manage anywhere from like 25 to 35 before they have to start looking for help. Beyond that, I just think even the onboarding and handling the rotations, because scholars don't stay forever, right? Scholars will graduate, they'll move on. The average scholar probably stays anywhere from 2 to 4 months in your program before they move on. So you're going to need people to maintain that and manage it. And beyond 30, like just speaking personally, it gets really hard and you probably want to look for some help. And my personal advice on that, look internally. Give your scholarship some steps of achievement. Be like, hey, if you are an aspiring manager, what you can do is as you graduate from the scholarship program, reach out to those people. They know how to work with you best, and they probably know your scholars, and see if they want to come and help and give them a cut of it. And I'm sure that they'd be really happy because you help give them another opportunity as well. They help you. So I would say that that's a really good way to look at that. But yeah, around 30, definitely.
Awesome. And like for a manager, right? I kind of have an idea of what a scholar's day would look like. They would be playing the game and grinding SLP.
Mhm.
What would a manager's day look like? Like,
Oh
say,
yeah.
a day in the life, like a routine. Give me a
So let's start with the unorganized manager who has to like deal with scholars and cash people out every day. So you're probably gonna have to spend at least 20 to 30 minutes of your time actually going over your scholar tracker, which is I'll leave it in the description down below. But it's an awesome little device that'll allow you to put the Ronin wallet addresses in, and it'll track how much SLP your scholars are making, what their daily average is, also when they can claim. So it'll help you really identify that. But you would probably, again, if you're unorganized, be doing that like every single day. So you would probably be spending a bit of time doing that. Another thing that you would be doing, and I think you would be spending most of your time doing this if you are a manager like me who breeds instead of buys, is you'd be on the marketplace. Like I spend way too much time on the marketplace. Some of it is window shopping, some of it is planning breeds, some of it is organizing different Axies, creating new teams because you're probably scaling your program. You're definitely going to be spending time on Twitter too, guys. Don't underestimate Twitter. Twitter is like Axie Infinity 101 social media. You need to be on there. You need to have a personality or nobody's going to know you. Nobody's going to apply for your program. So minimum of 1 hour on Twitter a day, guaranteed. You're going to have to spend a little bit on Twitter and reach out to some of the people. Everybody's really, really accepting. You got, of course, people like, WRAYA, you're like a celebrity and, I can talk to you, but it's because like Axie brings us together, right? But under normal circumstances, I'd probably never be having this conversation with you. So, guys, don't underestimate, right? People in this community are really accepting. You reach out to me, at me on Twitter. I'll get back to you. I'll even retweet your tweet. We all want to see everyone succeed. So yes, Twitter, 100%. And then outside of that, even though you're a manager, I'm assuming that you're playing. Or you should be playing if you want to be a successful manager. So you're probably going to spend an hour or two doing your own dailies. And you're going to go and you're going to play. If you're anything like me, you probably have a couple of different teams. I've got some teams that are like really awesome. I got some teams that are like kind of weak. I got some teams that are identical to my scholars. And here's a quick little hidden tip for you guys. Play the teams you give to your scholars so you know how you can perform on them. And if you're not able to win on those teams, you might want to think in your head, maybe my scholars are having troubles winning. So yeah, I would say that would be the case. So let's assume you wake up in the morning, get your coffee or your tea, depends on what you are, and then you go right to Twitter. Jump on Twitter, do your post, get back to your DMs. You probably have 99 plus messages from scholars in your message request because you always do. You'll never get back to all of them. Don't try. You just got to like keep it out there, keep it public. And then from there, you're going to go about just looking at the marketplace, making sure that everything looks good. If you have any eggs to hatch, it's the most exciting part of it. WRAYA, have you ever hatched any eggs yet?
I have some. I have to wait 3 more days, but I'm very excited. I've got them in the little incubators. It's
right,
very cute.
It's so cute. Okay, when you do, you got to let me know. I wanna see your reaction. So that's
Okay,
gonna have to be
all
like
right.
follow-up video. Raya's
sure.
reaction to her first egg morphing.
For sure.
Because it's super exciting, by the way. I just hatched some eggs yesterday. One of them is a one of a kind. It's like the only one in the entire world. And it's a big yak too. It's like a big chunky boy. It's so awesome. I
Oh,
love
okay.
it.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited.
I'm excited too. So yes, egg hatching, that'll probably be your dopamine rush because it's so exciting. And then touch base with your scholars. Always touch base with your scholars. Have like a group chat where you can just reach out and just even ask people, how's it going? Like that is such a simple question. 4 words. How's it? Well, I guess it could say however you want to put it. But how is it going, everyone? Simple phrase. Let people make it open-ended. Let them get back to you, share their thoughts. From there, you go with the flow, right? Your day's gonna fit out as it is. Make sure you stop into Twitter every now and then just make sure that you get your scholars paid.
Awesome. I love it. Sounds like a good day. Got some dopamine, got some coffee, got some Axie playing, got some Twitter. Sounds fun.
It is.
Oh, okay. Here's a question. Now that you mentioned that you've got some cool things breeding, you like picking Axies and putting together the teams. How do you decide who gets what team? Like which scholars get what Axies? Do you have like
so
a
I've
method?
tested this, by the way. But it's okay. So first things first. You always got to understand there's a bit of a lottery system to it. Like you can't always guarantee that like one team's always going to be better than another one in some way, shape, or form. If all your teams look the same, like good on you, by the way. That's OCD. It satisfies my OCD. But I think for the most part, you should talk to people. One of the things I do is I have a list of teams, so I'll onboard like anywhere from 6 to 8 at a time, and I'll have all of the teams and I'll screenshot them, and I will put them together in a quick little like, just go onto like Canva and just paste them into a single image, and then show the scholars as you go through. You're just gonna have to choose. Maybe somebody stands out to you and you get really excited to talk to them and you want to talk to them first, and just show them the team. Say, hey, look, I have this team. What do you think? Give them an idea of how hard you think it'll be to play, and if they're comfortable with it. And if they are, well, then great, give them the team. If they're not, then go through the list and let them know what you have, and just be very transparent with them. Let them know, like, I have a team which is super hard to play, but it's a top tier PvP team. So I actually went through 5 scholars who did not want that team. They said, no, it's too complicated for me. And then I found one guy who was pumped. He's like, oh my God, I'm going to be top 100 with this team. And I was like, that's what I want to hear. Yeah, use it, right? So that's, I would say, just work your way down the list, but be transparent with people and make sure that the team is suitable for them. And then if you do that, it's not a system of like who gets what. It's more a system of who needs what. And that would be my advice to that.
Awesome, awesome. So wait, how many scholars, this might be a very new question, how many scholars you assigned to 3 Axies?
How many scholars are assigned to 3 Axies?
Yeah.
Just one.
Is it just one? So
Yeah.
1 scholar for every 3 Axies.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, sorry, this is so noob question.
Hey, no worries, no worries. They're important questions.
Has a manager, I think you kind of answered this, but has a manager ever gotten their own set of Axies and while they're in the guild? I think that's what you call graduating, right?
Yes, yes. You mean scholar, right? A scholar?
Sorry, yes, yes.
It's okay, it's okay. Yes, no, that's called graduation. Oh, those moments are so tender. They're so great. And celebrate them, by the way, because like for a scholar, that's a huge moment. But yes, all the time it happens.
Yeah, so, okay. So you're saying like it happens every 2 to 4 months.
Usually, yeah. I think I had one guy who just crushed it. He was a machine. Like, I can't even believe that guy exists in this world. I don't know if he sleeps. He did it in like a month and a half. But that was a huge outlier. On average, most people are about 2 to 4 months.
Okay, awesome. So it's just the flow of the Axie teams. You become a scholar, you graduate, you get your own Axies, and then you start your own teams.
Yeah.
I like it. Awesome. How? What's a good? Okay, here's the money question, right? We all want to know this. What's a good profit share, and how do you determine the profit share structure?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question. So I'm going to start this off by saying market research. Look at what other people are paying, and make sure that you're competitive. Because if you're not, you A, will have troubles bringing scholars on in the first place, and B, you'll have troubles keeping scholars and keeping them honest because they got to get paid, right? And if you think that you're the only program a scholar applies to, think again. You're even content creators, scholars will apply to like all of their programs. I'm sure most of my scholars also applied to Bryson's program, right? It's just how it works. But I would say that there are some current standards right now. If you're paying less than 50-50, prepare to be attacked by the vigilantes. And I think they're doing a good job because if you think just being an investor, you are entitled to more than 50% of the profit share, I mean, go watch Shark Tank. It doesn't work that way. Like anybody who asks for more than 10% of a company for an investment is just like laughed at half the time. Unless you're some weird company, right, that doesn't have any like use case and you're wanting a partner in it. But yeah, I would say anything less than 50-50, you're doing something wrong. I personally, and I'm okay with sharing this because it's perfectly public, I start everybody at 60% for the scholars, 40% for me. And then what I do is I have a bonus structure in place. So at the moment, we have to reevaluate this because the daily averages are not as easy to understand with the new system. But before it was 150 a day is the average. So the way I would work it is the scholar gets 60% of the earnings right from square one, by the way. And if they earn more than 150 average a day, what I do is I prorate, kind of like how taxes work, the amount above a 150 average a day, and I give them 70% of that. So it's kind of like a performance bonus. Some people, honestly, sometimes I just give people even more. One of my scholars who recently graduated, he was doing so good. And I don't know, I guess I was feeling really, really generous the day. And I was like, look, your final payment, like I'm just giving you 75%. I'm so proud of you. You're graduating. Like I want to give you the best start on this. Here you go, 75% cut for you. I wouldn't recommend always doing that. You know, you have to understand that you need to grow too. So don't underestimate, you know, the value that you need to get back from it. You don't just want to be out there putting your assets out with no return. But I think if you want to be competitive and you can afford it, 60-40 is a good split. Give your scholars 60%. They should earn more than you. They're putting in the work. And then if you put performance bonuses in, you will make more because people will be enticed to earn more because it earns them more. So I know a lot of programs aren't doing that, but I really incentivize it in mine is if you do well, I pay you well. Might come from my sales background because I used to come from like commission sales. That's where I started in my business career. So like when I do well, I make more money, right? And I know it motivated me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very, very good motivator for sure. I love that. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because I've seen a lot of like different numbers and it was just really confusing.
Mhm.
But I think 60-40 is good. I mean, that's like YouTube.
Yeah, exactly.
So do you have so just with the scholars and their day, do you have schedules and timetables for them, or do you kind of let them play? How does that determine when they decide to work and not?
Okay. Well, the schedule, yeah, 100% up to them. And that comes from even my business background. So I run a consulting firm right now, and even my account managers and my agents in the firm, I leave it up to them. I don't standardize hours because I don't think people work well that way. And this, at the end of the day, though, it's a job. It's also a game. So I don't think it's important to have them standardized as far as a schedule goes. But I do think it's important to have expectations in place. Make sure that you communicate that. So as I said, we're reevaluating the expectations. And once I have a good idea, I'll probably put posts all over Twitter. So, you know, stay tuned for that. If you're not following me, by the way, quick plug here. Make sure you're following me. And also follow WRAYA as well. We'll make sure that both of our Twitters are plugged in this video. I think that you should at least have expectations. If you don't, then you're going to have people who just, they don't commit to it. They don't have that kind of discipline. And it's not anything against them. It's just human nature, right? Like it's just some of the things that people do. So have that little motivator in there that shows an expectation, and just make it reasonable. And if you do, schedule's not an issue. They'll work when they want to work, and so long as they're performing, then you'll be happy.
Awesome. Well, with that, have you had any tough conversations and had to let scholars go? How did that go? And what kind of things happened for you to be like, well, I don't think this is working out for us?
That's a really, really good question. And you know, let's be honest, it's gonna happen with everybody. I will say, and not to say anything against North American people by any means, the only people I've had to let go based on a performance factor of not being committed are people from North America. People I knew in real life, actually, who, for whatever reason, right? I don't judge people, but I do have to make hard decisions, is I had to let them know, look, you're earning like 40 SLP a day. Like, you're not playing the game. And these are assets that I have tied up. And not just that, this is an opportunity that thousands of people around the world would really give a lot for. So if you're not going to take advantage of it, I want to make sure it goes to someone who can actually use it and will appreciate it. And if you do, I would say, you know, run it just like a manager would in a business. If somebody's having issues, don't immediately assume the worst, right? Like, I actually had one guy in my program who, for whatever reason, he just wasn't performing it. It almost looked like he wasn't playing. And I reached out to him thinking maybe something was wrong. So I sent him a message and I said, hey, it doesn't look like you're playing. Can I help you with anything? Like, is anything going on? And he was transparent with me. He said, look, I'm having a really tough time right now. I'm going through a personal issue. And I told him straight up, I said, look, I'm here for you. Like, I might be here for you as a manager to help you with the assets. But I'm here for you as an individual. Like, I'm here for you as a confidant. You can talk to me. So it took a little bit of pushing because obviously he doesn't know me personally. But I got him on a call and I chatted with him and I just gave him some advice. I was there to help him vent, and it ended up turning the entire thing around. Afterwards, he just felt, you know, again, he felt like a friend. He obviously wanted to push a little bit harder, and I reinstated the value that him putting that time in is going to have on him. I said, hey, look, you know, if it'll help you, I know you're doing a little worse this specific cut or this time period because you can only claim every 2 weeks. I said, how about I gave him the whole thing. I said, look, I'll give you it all because I know you could probably use it and incentivize you. And then the next period, the next split, I'm going to pull half of that amount out to pay my portion of it. And then we will go from there. So he was okay with that. He was really appreciative. And after that, he became an extremely high performing scholar. So yeah, you do have to have those tough conversations, but make sure you know that whatever you go into that conversation with is going to be what creates the atmosphere around it. So if you go into it with negative, like, this guy's, he's wasting my time, well, that's the outcome, right? If you go into it thinking, oh, there's an issue here, I want to figure out what it is and I want to resolve it, well, you're probably going to resolve the issue. So yeah, definitely, I've had to have that. Only people I've let go, though, North American people. I don't know why we're so lazy sometimes.
Oh, really? Well, you haven't met Australians. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh, actually, fair. You know, to point on that, I lived in Japan for a year, and I was a snowboard instructor, so I lived on the mountain with like 80% Australians. Like they live in Japan too, doing it. So I do know Australians, by the way. And yes, I know what you're talking about.
That's right.
Yeah.
We are notorious for that. I like to say I don't fit the stereotype. Just saying.
No, you're hardworking. You're hardworking.
Yeah, well, I grew up kind of poor as well, so I know exactly what that feels like. I think that gave me the fire and the hustle, you know. And we don't
Nice.
take things for granted.
Yeah, no, I think it's important, right? It changes your values. The whole, you don't know what you got till it's gone. Well, if you started with nothing, then you know what something feels like.
Exactly. It's awesome. It drives you. I love it. Use it for good.
Sure.
Awesome. So with that, it's like, a is there any like performance metrics that you use with your scholars other than just SLP?
Not really. I do a couple of things, like I said, bonuses. So when you complete Ruin level 21, you get a 200 SLP bonus. So whenever somebody completes it, I get them to send me a notification of it, and that's a bonus for them. So if they get that 200 SLP is just theirs. It's kind of like a special little bonus for them to get. Another thing I have in place is if scholars, and I haven't had anybody yet, so bear in mind I haven't had to do this, but I'm planning for it because the top 1,000 players get AXS rewards at the end of the season. I am 100% going to be structuring that as a bonus as well. So if a scholar performs well enough to place top 1,000 at the end of the season and earns AXS, depending on the price of AXS, I may not give it all to them, but I will definitely be giving them a bonus for that.
Awesome. Wow, top 1,000. That's a dream. That sounds pretty fun.
You'll get there. MTTM
Yeah,
commitment will make it happen.
yeah. One day, one day.
Yeah.
Awesome. So do you do any like formal reporting for your teams at all?
Well, so not entirely. I do check in on them on a regular basis. I have one guy, his name is Glenn. He reports to me every day. Like the other day, he was like, full meta report. This is what I earned in this day, winning this many games with this many losses. And I was like, dude, you're amazing. Where did I find you? He's just awesome. If you're watching this, by the way, Glenn, you're great. And other than that, though, I don't do formal reporting, but every time I go to catch somebody out, which is on those 2-week periods, I just touch base with them. How's it going? How are things? How's the team? I had one scholar who was having troubles with her team. And I said, okay, well, what do you think is the trouble? And she said, I don't think I have enough damage on my bird. So I immediately went to the marketplace, found the highest damage bird I could find, showed it to her and said, do you think this would help? She was like, yeah, no, I think it will. Gave it to her, and she's killing it now. So, you should have a reporting system in. I like to do it on the claim days and then just touch base with them and see how it's going.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. Okay. I'm actually running out of questions. We're towards the
It's
end.
okay. That's okay. That's a good thing. I hope you got a
It's a good thing
lot
you're
of
like,
value from this.
yeah, I know. I'm trying to like do well-researched questions. So how to keep track of what to pay out? So you mentioned that you use a SLP tracker. Do you have
Yes.
your own like spreadsheets? Like how do you organize that?
I have too many spreadsheets. Let me preface with that. Yeah, spreadsheets are huge. You should always record every single claim on a spreadsheet. Even as simple as use what's called it's a Vercel tracker app. I think there's another one called like Axie or something. There's a ton of them where they record the SLP. If it's even as simple as just taking a screenshot of that and putting it in the Excel sheet to record it, record it. Just make sure you do, so you can create expectations and expected profits, everything that you want, right? So do record it. But yeah, the biggest thing I use is that SLP tracker, and if you at least use that, you are going to be miles ahead of the people who just go with the flow and wait for their scholars to ask them to claim.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think waiting for your scholar to ask is a good idea at all.
No, I always bug my scholars. Actually, one time I have a brother and sister who are in my scholarship program, and I onboarded them at the same time, and their wallet addresses are right beside each other. And when I looked at it, I was like, oh, okay, one was like 12 days. So every 14 days you can claim. The other one was 14. So I made a mistake, and I messaged the sister, and I was like, hey, just wanted to give you a heads up that you can claim today. And she was like, wait, I don't think I can claim for 2 days. And then I looked at it, I was like, oh no. Oh, it wasn't you. I'm sorry. I sent the mistake message. And she goes, yeah, don't worry. I'd be happy to claim his SLP, because she knows he's a PvP boss, right? So he gets lots. And she's like, if you want to give it to me. But yeah, keep it organized and let your scholars know. When they can claim, just give them a poke. Tell them, hey, look, you can claim anytime, and let them decide. Maybe they want to wait a bit. Maybe they need just a little bit more SLP to get a cash out that they want, and then just work with them.
Oh, okay. So you can. Oh, I just assumed you would just claim every 14 days, but some people wait because they want a bigger SLP bundle and then not have to wait another 14 days to get it out.
Exactly. And some managers are strict about that. I'm pretty easygoing. I have 30 scholars, right? So I can be. I understand some managers might be more strict, but I mean, some people, maybe they have a goal. They want to spend a certain amount on something, and they know they need that SLP. So yeah, just let them claim. In my personal opinion, work with them.
Okay, so I guess there's two school of thoughts, because I was just like, it can get quite messy when not everyone's claim day.
Exactly.
How do you keep track of that? Okay, so you have your little spreadsheets to keep track of that.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really nice of you. Because, like, I would be, like, panicked when it starts getting unorganized because I'm already very disorganized. So I have to keep track of multiple days. I'd be like, oh my gosh. But cool. Spreadsheets are the solution to that. I love that.
100%.
Well, you know what? That kind of closes off all my questions for you. I have learned so much about scholarships.
Awesome.
I've also decided I may not be doing one right now, because I'm just going to enjoy playing the game for now. But obviously, you know, I feel like an inspiring scholarship manager needs to be a very kind of on-point business person as well. That's kind of what I've learned today.
If you want to make the most of it, yes. Just like I said before, simple answer. You can just come in and throw money at the game and hope it works. But if you want to make the most of it, yeah, make sure you're prepared. Make sure you know what you're doing. Or join the MTTM Manager Association. I'm just kidding. Shameless plug.
Oh, there we go. I love it. Maybe I'll go in and train myself.
Nice. You know you're always welcome, Rhea.
Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. Well, I had a lot of fun, guys, taking over Max's channel. I hope you guys had fun, you know, listening to my questions. I hope you had the same questions as me. I hope so. But anyways, let me know down below if you have any extra questions that I didn't ask, and then maybe we'll get to answering that next time.
Awesome.
How's that for a channel takeover? I totally just took your outro as well.
I'll take it. It's okay. You know what? We'll even, just so everybody knows, I always have like an outro theme song and an intro theme song. You probably already know that the intro has one of Rhea's songs on it. The outro, I'll give you that song too. Don't worry about it.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Check out my songs on Spotify. It's my shameless plug time.
There you go. I'll make sure that you have all of her socials down below as well. But no, Rhea, it was a pleasure. I really enjoyed chatting with you. Even just the little chat we had before, I was like, oh, this girl's a cool cat. I like talking to her. Pleasant surprise, because I don't talk to too many celebrities, right? So when I realized you were just so down to earth and casual, I was like, no, this is cool. Definitely going to be somebody I want to have on the channel regular. So in that regards, guys, help me with this. Make sure you flood those comments asking for Rhea to come back for a follow-up collab, and we'll make sure she's on the channel again.
Awesome. Well, I had so much fun. I think Axie brings everyone together. So it was lovely to meet you. Max as well. You guys that know me outside of this, that know me from before, know that my partner's name is Max too. So I was just like, oh, so many Maxes. I love the name Max. So thanks for having me, and hope you guys enjoyed this.
All right, guys, make sure if you haven't yet, subscribe and turn on notifications, like the video, and throw me a comment. All right, everyone, thanks again. Till next time.
Bye.